Side. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana. Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana. Jamuna Tira Vanacari. Jamuna Tira Vanacari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja सदस्यमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridharan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami to Bhaktivind ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami to Bhaktivind ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please unmute your mind.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, you are welcome Maharaj. How are you?
All glory to Gurudev and Krishna Prabhupada. We are fine by Krishna's mercy, by devotees' mercy.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so can we start?
Yes, Maharaj. I put the verse on the screen so we can start.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Narayana namaskritya narachaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nashtaprayeshu bhadresu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. There we are treating text. Na veda kaschit bhagavan chikrishitam tave hamma nalisya nirnam vidambanam na yasya kaschit daitosti karichit duishyasta yasmin vishama matirnam na veda kaschit bhagavan chikrishitam tave hamma nalisya nirnam vidambanam Nayasya kaschit daitosti karichit dveshyascha yasmin vishama matirninam Naveda kaschit bhagavans chikrishitam tave hamanasya nirnam vidambanam Nayasya kaschit daitosti karichit dvesyascha yasmin vishama matirninam. Word for word translation. Na does not. Veda no. Kaschit anyone. Bhagavan, O Lord. Shikrishitam pastimes. Tava your. Iham anasya like the worldly men. Nrinam of the people in general. Vidambanam, misleading. Na, never. Yasya, his. Kaschit, anyone. Daitaha, object of specific favor. Asti, there is. Karichit, anywhere. Dvisyaha, object of envy. Cha, and. Yasmin, unto him. Vishama, partiality. Mati, conception. Nrinam, of the people. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human, and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. So Prabhupada's purport. The Lord's mercy upon the fallen souls is equally distributed. He has no one as the specific object of hostility. The very conception of the personality of Godhead as a human being is misleading. His pastimes appear to be exactly like a human being's, but actually they are transcendental and without any tinge of material contamination. He is undoubtedly known as partial to his pure devotees, but in fact, he is never partial, as much as the sun never partial. The sun is never partial to anyone. By utilizing the sun rays, sometimes even the stones become valuable, whereas a blind man cannot see the sun, although there are enough sun rays before him. Darkness and light are two opposite conceptions, but this does not mean that the sun is partial in distributing its rays. The sun's rays are open to everyone, but the capacities of the receptacles differ. Foolish people think that devotional service is flattering the Lord to get special mercy. Factually, the pure devotees who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are not a mercantile community. A mercantile house renders service to someone in exchange for values. The pure devotee does not render service unto the Lord for such exchange. Therefore, the full mercy of the Lord is open for him. Suffering men, needy men, inquisitive persons, or philosophers make temporary connections with the Lord to serve a particular purpose. When the purpose is served, there is no more relation with the Lord. A suffering man, if he is pious at all, prays to the Lord for his recovery. But as soon as the recovery is over, in most cases, the suffering man no longer cares to keep any connection with the Lord. The mercy of the Lord is open for him, but he is reluctant to receive it. That is the difference between the pure devotee and a mixed devotee. Those who are completely against the service of the Lord are considered to be in abject darkness. Those who ask for the Lord's favor only at the time of necessity are partial recipients of the mercy of the Lord. And those who are 100% engaged in the service of the Lord are full recipients of the mercy of the Lord. Such partiality in receiving the Lord's mercy is relative to the recipient, and it is not due to the partiality of the all-merciful Lord. When the Lord descends to this material world by his all-merciful energy, he plays like a human being, and therefore it appears that the Lord is partial to his devotees only, but that is not a fact. Despite such apparent manifestation of partiality, his mercy is equally distributed. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all persons who died in the fight before the presence of the Lord got salvation without the necessary qualifications, because death before the presence of the Lord purifies the passing soul from the effects of all sins. And therefore, the dying man gets a place somewhere in the transcendental abode. Somehow or other, if someone puts himself open in the sun rays, he is sure to get the requisite benefit both by heat and by ultraviolet rays. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Lord is never partial. It is wrong for people in general to think of him as partial. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahadana Ragnastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sya Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swaminiti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashritatmane Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tetariti Namini Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvise Suyavadi Pasachade Satarini. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namini gauratvize namaha. Nityanando vatatendur vasudha pranamalabaha Janavir jivita patir Krishna prema pradaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gorakile Varaha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Samarveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatatvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanahitaya cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandir Gatima Sarvaswa Padam Bujo Radha Mandana Mohano Divyar Vrindananya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Radnagara Samhas Tanus Tao Sri Sri Radha Smila Govinda Devo Krishyalibi Sevyamano Smarami Shrimam Rasa Rasarambi Vamsiva Tata Tastita Karusan Venus Vanai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrisha Manu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Give me 1 second, I'll be back. 1 second. Krishna, I'm sorry. I had to attend to nature's call, so 1 second. Sorry for that break. Again, the translation says, oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. Mukam karote vachalam pangum lagayete grim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinantaranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakram Vyapta Yena Characharam Tapadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So everyone is welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, and before we we seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis so that we can be able to execute this transcendental service of representing Srila Vyasadeva. So in this verse, Queen Kunti is speaking, "O Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial." So Krishna is always in a transcendental position. Harihi Nirguna Shakshat. Prakriti Purusha Para. Krishna is always in a transcendental position. He is above the three modes of material nature. Nirguna Shakshat is above the three modes of material nature. And he is Purusha Prakriti Para. He is always in a superior position. So therefore, there is no question of envy. Partiality comes when there is envy. Where there is no envy, there is no partiality. And Krishna himself mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita 9:29, says, "Samoham sarva bhuteshu na me dvesostina priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapi aham." So I envy no one, Krishna says, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders some service unto me in devotion is a friend in me, and I am also a friend to him. So Krishna is not partial. Krishna is equal to all. Is equal to all. Because everyone is Krishna's part and parcel. Mama Ivanso Jiva Loki Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. Everyone is Krishna's part and parcel. So therefore, everyone is Krishna's child, Krishna's answer, Krishna's part. So how can Krishna discriminate against his own parts and parcels? How can he be partial towards one group and then become impartial towards another group? Because everything is coming from Krishna. Every jiva is coming from Krishna. No jiva has a separate origin except Krishna. So therefore, all jivas, they belong to Krishna. So there's no question of partiality. But Krishna says, "But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend. He is in me, and I'm also a friend to him." So Krishna is a sentient being. Krishna is a personality with feelings. It's a personality with likes and dislikes. Therefore, if one pleases the Lord, automatically he attracts the Lord's attention. And if one disobeys the Lord, if one works against the Lord, then automatically he cannot attract the Lord's attention. Or he may not be a friend to the Lord. Even though the Lord is still his father, his origin, his source, But based on our mentality, based on our activities, we can either be faithful, loyal servants, or we can oppose the mission of the Lord. And so when we oppose the mission of the Lord, it is not that the Lord is partial to us, it is our activities that is blocking us from getting the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is no question of partiality. However, it is said that your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human, are so misleading. Shukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Asitaha Bhadyate Tradishikrita Yasruta Tatparo Bhavet. That when the Lord assumes a human-like body to show his mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes that will attract those who hear about them and become dedicated to him. So the purpose of the Lord coming into the world and assuming the form of human beings, even though his body is transcendental, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna's body is transcendental. Actually, is the other way around. God is the origin of everyone. So our form resembles that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because we are all originating from the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is our Father. So naturally, the children will take after their father. So if we have this human form, actually we should understand that it is God's form. Just as the Bible says, let us create man in our own image. So the human form that we have is actually God's form. But the bewildering things are that when Krishna comes into this world, he engages in activities that resemble that of human beings. And that is the misleading aspect of his pastimes. Because we see Krishna, he eats, he sleeps, he has a family, he fights, he does all the things we human beings or jivas do in this world. So therefore, we quickly jump to conclusion that Krishna is like a human being. That Krishna is also like us. And that is the misleading aspect of Krishna's pastimes. But actually, Shukadeva Goswami is saying here, when the Lord appears in this material world, he engages in such pastimes that would attract the jivas to become dedicated, to surrender unto him and render services to him. That is the reason why the Lord comes into this world and engages in activities for the benefit of the living entities in this world. So, who is that person who will not want to hear these pastimes? Who is that person who is not attracted to these pastimes? Who is that person who rejects these pastimes? Unless that person is against the Lord, unless that person is demonic. or he has no knowledge, he is ignorant, then he will reject such pastimes. Because the Lord's mission of coming into this world is to enact these activities in order to attract the living entities back home, back to Godhead. So these pastimes must be understood to be transcendental, but they are enacted in a material atmosphere, in the presence of conditioned souls, and therefore we are seeing through the lenses of our conditioned eyes. We are trying to understand Krishna by our conditioned mind. Atasre Krishna Namadi, that we cannot understand Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's activities, Krishna's form by our material senses, by our material mind. It is not possible. So the only way it is possible is when these senses are purified by engaging them in the service of the owner of the senses. When the senses are engaged in the service of Hrisikaj, that is the process of bhakti, and that leads to purification. Tat nirmalam, that leads to purification of the senses. So we have to understand that these pastimes of the Lord are not actually material. They are spiritual, because the Lord is completely spiritual. He is always in a transcendental position. And so everything he does is also in a transcendental position. It is just that we are perceiving it. We are perceiving those pastimes, those activities through our diseased senses, our impure senses. And so just like somebody watching an object through tinted glasses, the object will assume the tint of the glass. So similarly, we are seeing Krishna from our human point of view, and therefore we are thinking that Krishna's activities are also mundane. Prapachanam nishprapuchopi vidaya basi bhutale. Sukadev further on says that, my dear master, although you have nothing to do with this material existence, you come to this earth to imitate material life just to expand the varieties of ecstasies of your surrounded devotees. So Krishna enacts these activities in the material world in order to increase, to expand the ecstatic mood of his surrounded devotees. He wants to increase the enjoyment of his surrounded devotees. That is why he comes into this world to perform these activities. So like we see in the case of Yashoda Mai, Nanda Maharaj, their pleasure is enhanced by Krishna's appearance. Their pleasure knows no bounds by Krishna's appearance in this world and accepting them as his parents and growing up in their courtyard, growing up in their home, performing all these wonderful leelas and just enthusing them and giving them so much pleasure every day by his transcendental activities. So we can see the cowhead boys, they're enjoying, they're frolicking with Krishna all day in the pasturing grounds. They pray that the sun will never set so that they can continue to play with Krishna in the fields of Vrindavan, Gokul, so that they can continue to relish Krishna's association. Their prayer is night should never come. The gopis, they're also thinking that the day should never break while they are dancing with Krishna in the rasa dance, and they're enjoying, embracing Krishna, kissing Krishna, and relishing so much joy, so much bliss from Krishna's association. The gopis are praying that the night should be as long as Brahma's life. They're praying that the day should never come, the sun should never rise, so they can continuously enjoy Krishna's association. So therefore, Krishna comes into this world in order to enhance his devotees' pleasure. Prapana Jatananda. Prapana Jatananda Sandoham Pratitum Prabhu. Krishna comes into this world to expand the pleasures of his devotees. He comes into this world to increase the ecstasy of his devotees. And therefore, the activities he's performing are not material, even though they may appear to be so, because the conditioned soul is simply observing from outside. He's observing from his point of view. He's observing from his material understanding, and therefore he sees Krishna with material eyes. But the devotees, they are enjoying. The devotees, they are relishing. The devotees, they are diving in and out in the ocean of transcendental bliss. Nishreshayam, the transcendental bliss the devotee engages in is incalculable. The happiness the devotee goes through in the service of the Lord is unimaginable for those who are not in that position. And so that is why Krishna comes into this world, and that is why he enacts such activities. But for the conditioned soul, they see some partiality. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes, he is undoubtedly known as partial to his pure devotees, but in fact, he is never partial. As much as the sun is never partial to anyone. By utilizing the sun rays, sometimes even the stones become valuable, whereas a blind man cannot see the sun, although there are enough sun rays before him. So it's like the owl. The owl closes his eyes during the day, and then he opens his eyes during the night. And then the owl concludes that there is no sun, because all day his eyes are closed. He doesn't want to see the rays of the sun. He doesn't want to see the sun. So all day his eyes are closed. He's a nocturnal bird. His eyes are closed. He's sleeping all day. And when it is dark, he comes out and opens his eyes and begins to look for his food. Then he concludes that there is no sun, because all day he has been sleeping. All day his eyes have been closed. So he sees some partiality in the activities of the sun. But actually the sun is always there for everybody to see. And if you open your eyes, one can see. So the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is available for everyone. The mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accessible to everyone. But we must be in the right state of mind. We must be in the right state of consciousness. It is only when we're in the right state of mind that we can connect with the mercy. We can receive the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without that right state of mind, without that right state of consciousness, it is not possible to receive that mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Jiva Goswami says in the Sri Krishna Sandarbha, Bhagavan Hari Yasaha Ayam Krishna Rupa Tvena Visheshekara. What Jiva Goswami is saying is that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and although he is aloof to all living entities, he has become the son of Nanda Maharaj, and Yashoda Mai. The Lord is aloof. from all living entities. Still, he becomes the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. Even though he is never the son of everyone, Krishna cannot be the son of anyone because he's the origin of everyone else. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anandira Adir Govinda Sarva Karanam Karanam. Krishna is the cause of all causes. He's the origin of everyone else. Still, he accepts to become the son of a devotee. Why? Because Krishna is controlled by unalloyed devotion. That is the understanding. Krishna is controlled by unalloyed devotion. If one wants to enter into a very intimate relationship with Krishna, then he must cultivate this unalloyed devotion. And once that unalloyed devotion is cultivated, then Krishna becomes an intimate friend. Krishna becomes an intimate lover. Krishna can choose to become a servant of his devotee. Krishna becomes a son of his devotee because of the devotee's love he has cultivated for Krishna. In fact, Shukadeva Goswami was answering a question. Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard about the special service, the special position that Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj occupies, Parikshit Maharaj was a bit amazed. How is it possible that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they have become such wonderful devotees that Krishna accepted to become their child? So, Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukadeva Goswami, Nandam kim akarot brahma, Sriyam ivam mahodaya. Yashodava mahabhaga, papo yashyas tanam hari. He said, my dear Sukadeva Goswami, tell me, what is the qualification? What kind of credit did Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, what kind of credit did they cultivate? So much so that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of the creation, who is the owner of the creation, who is the source of everyone else, accepted to become their son. And Yashoda tried to bind Krishna. Yashoda was bold enough to try to bind Krishna. And Krishna calls Yashoda, Ma, Ma, mother, mother, and then grabs her breast and stuck the nipples of her breast into his mouth and sucks the breast milk from Yashoda's breast. What kind of pious activities, what credit did Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj cultivate that Krishna accepts to become their child? And Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Sudabhave Sakakare Skande Arohana, Sudabhave Vrajeshwari Karena Bandhana. He says that in pure Krishna consciousness, Sudabhava, the cowhead boys, are climbing on Krishna's shoulders. In the same way, by pure devotion, Sudabhave, Mother Yashoda is binding Krishna with a rope. By the same Sudabhave, pure devotional service, pure consciousness, Nanda Maharaj is sending Krishna to bring him his shoes, and Krishna is carrying Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head. So, Sudabhave Sakakari, only by pure devotional service, only by unalloyed devotion, that the Lord can be controlled, the Lord can be won over, and Krishna enjoys the pure devotional service of his devotee, so much so, he becomes sold out to the devotee. So, Krishna is not partial. Krishna is equal to all. But whoever renders service unto Krishna becomes a friend of Krishna, and Krishna becomes a friend to such a soul. In fact, it is said that because of Yashoda's special devotional service, Krishna actually gave him special mercy above that of Brahmaji and that of Shivaji. In fact, it is even said that the mercy that Yashoda Mai enjoyed from Krishna, that even Lakshmi Devi did not get that favor from Krishna. Nema vrinchona bhavo nasri api anga shamsrayaha prashadam lebire gopi yatat prapa vimuktidat. That the mercy Krishna gave to Yashoda Mai, Nasri, even Lakshmi, Shri, Nashri api anga samsrayaha. Nasri, even Lakshmi Devi could not get that favor that Krishna bestowed upon Yashoda Mai because of the love of Yashoda Mai, because of the devotion of Yashoda Mai towards Krishna. So Krishna is not partial. Krishna is simply reciprocating with the devotee. Krishna says that as they surrender unto me, as they try to love me, as they want to serve me, I reciprocate, I reward them accordingly. So if one serves Krishna very nicely, if one loves Krishna, if one has affection for Krishna, to that degree of service, to that degree of affection, to that degree of love that a living entity has for Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with that devotee. But as the Prabhupada writes in the purport, foolish people think that devotional service is flattering the Lord in order to get something from the Lord. Factually, the pure devotees who are engaged in the transcendental love and service of the Lord are not a mercantile community. A mercantile house renders service to someone in exchange for values, for money. The pure devotee does not render service unto the Lord for such exchange. Therefore, the full mercy of the Lord is available to the pure devotee. So people who are not properly informed, they think that the Lord can be bribed. No, Krishna cannot be bribed. You render some service and Krishna does something to you. No, Krishna actually reciprocates the love. To that degree, one loves Krishna. To that degree, Krishna will also reciprocate the love. And it's not this reciprocation is not based on material remuneration. It's not based on some exchange of material gifts. No, it is based on the spiritual platform, spiritual pleasure, spiritual experience. As a devotee becomes more and more involved in Krishna's service, he becomes satisfied from within. He feels happy from within. He feels great joy in his mind. Such is the pleasure one gets from devotional service. It is not something substantial, some material object, some material profit that one can say, oh, I've served God for 100 years and now I've got $100 million. No, that reciprocation with Krishna is within the mind of the devotee, is within the heart of the devotee. The devotee experiences transcendental joy, transcendental bliss from the association of Krishna, from the mercy of Krishna. So this is what is going on between Krishna and his devotee. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami says, Aradhyatma pradam devam Swatmanam Jagarishwaram. That the ultimate ambition of everyone should be to become a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The ultimate ambition of every jiva should become a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because by such service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna gives himself to such devotees. And actually there's no price. When Krishna gives himself to the devotee, we cannot calculate in material terms, in monetary value, what the cost of that is. When a devotee serves Krishna, when a devotee loves Krishna, when a devotee increases his affection for Krishna, Krishna reciprocates that love, that affection, that surrender, and Krishna enters the heart. Krishna is already there as a super soul. He enhances the devotee's pleasure, he enhances the enlightenment of the devotee, and the devotee tastes that nectar of devotional service by his devotional activities. That is what is needed. So it is said that wherever devotional service is, one should pursue it, because by becoming a devotee of the Lord, by becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord, one actually attracts Krishna. One actually purchases Krishna. It is said that devotional service is karashati. Karashati means very attractive. Devotional service is so attractive that Krishna himself is attracted to devotional service. And that devotee who is able to perform devotional service to the satisfaction of Krishna, then he attracts Krishna. Therefore, it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that wherever bhakti is, one must go for it. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yat Yadi Kudopi Labhyate. That wherever devotional service is, one must go for it. One must purchase it at all costs, because by such devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the devotee's loving relationship. And when Krishna accepts to become a lover of that devotee, when Krishna begins to reciprocate with the love of the devotee, that is amazing. In the Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami also mentioned this. He says, Tatra Yavana Rat Anugataha, Gopana Karat Dharma Nirataha. That Krishna, who is followed by the Krishna is followed by the Yavana king, Kalayavana. Kalayavana was running after Krishna. He wants to kill Krishna. So he's running after him so much. And Krishna disappeared into the mountain cave. So it says, oh Krishna, who is followed by the Yavana king, Kalayavana. Oh Krishna, who disappeared from the vision of Kalayavana. Oh Krishna, who was merciful to Muchukunda. Oh Krishna, your effulgence illuminated the darkness of Muchukunda's cave. So just see, one may say Krishna is partial, but Krishna is not partial. Yavana, the Yavana king, Kalayavana, wants to kill Krishna. He is chasing after Krishna to kill Krishna. And Krishna is running and he's chasing, and Krishna enters a cave. Meanwhile, Muchukunda has got his benediction to sleep unlimitedly, and until somebody wakes him up, and whoever wakes him up will be burnt to ashes. And so Krishna runs into the cave where Muchukunda is sleeping. And he knows that Muchukunda is sleeping in that cave. He hides by the side. And this demon, Kalayavana, he enters the cave. He doesn't know that there's a sleeping man there. He doesn't know Muchukunda is sleeping there. And he kicks Muchukunda to wake him up. And as soon as Muchukunda woke up, he stared his red eyes on Kalayavana, and Kalayavana was burnt to ashes. Meanwhile, Muchukunda, his prayer is to get the mercy of Krishna. He's desiring the mercy of Krishna. So here are two jivas. One jiva is an enemy of Krishna. One jiva wants to kill Krishna. That is the Kalayavana. And then Muchukunda is praying in his heart, when will I have darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Krishna brings himself here. So two personalities, Kalayavana and Muchukunda. They are all Krishna's children, but one is behaving in an inimical way. Krishna arranges for his death. And Muchukunda is behaving in a devotional way. Krishna gives him his mercy. So Jiva Goswami is saying that Krishna is never partial. It is the attitude of the jiva. It is the mood of the jiva that attracts Krishna's mercy or Krishna's reciprocation, and therefore it may appear that Krishna is partial. Or Krishna, who used Mukunda's glance as a weapon to kill Kalyavana. Or Krishna, who Muchukunda's heart yearned to see. Or Krishna, who mercifully fulfills the devotee's desire. So Krishna is just like electricity plug. If you plug a fridge inside, you get ice block. If you plug an electric stove, cooking stove, you get fire. But electricity is neutral. It's neutral. So Krishna, his position is, he is neutral. But anyone who renders service to Krishna automatically attracts Krishna's mercy. Anyone who is inclined to loving Krishna automatically attracts Krishna's love. As Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, he said, when the Lord descends to this material world by his all-merciful energy, he plays like a human being, and therefore it appears that the Lord is partial to his devotees only. But that is not a fact. Despite such apparent manifestation of partiality, his mercy is equally distributed. In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all the persons who died in the fight before the presence of the Lord got salvation without the necessary qualifications, because death before the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead purifies the passing soul from the effects of all sins. And therefore, the dying man gets a place somewhere in the transcendental abode. So even those who were against the will of the Lord, they were fighting in support of Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, even dying before the Lord, they also got the mercy to go back home, back to the spiritual world. So how can we say the Lord is partial? How can we say he's partial? Duryodhana and his party, Dhritarashtra and his party, they were fighting against the Lord's desire. Krishna's desire was to make the Pandavas the rulers of the world. He wanted to make them the emperors of the world. But Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana and their party, they wanted to usurp that arrangement. And so they were ready to fight. And they gathered so much military power, military strength to oppose Krishna's plan. Yet still, when these soldiers they died before the Lord, they were given liberation. They were elevated into the spiritual atmosphere. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita says, Krishna sya karunaya katastu dure tasya prasasasyo batani graho pi kamsadaya kalya putanadaya bali adaya prat api shakshino api. He's saying that when we speak of Krishna's mercy, we speak of Krishna's kindness. It's very glorious. But even the punishment Krishna gives to the demons is praiseworthy. And the evidence is there. Kamsa, Kalia, Putana, and in the distant past, Bali Maharaj and many others, they all benefited from Krishna's punishment. So even when Krishna punishes a living entity, because Krishna is an absolute personality, is the absolute person, everything about him is absolute. Even the so-called punishment of Krishna is mercy. He is absolute. So everything he does is absolute. He's transcendental. So everything he does is transcendental. Even when he kills, it's transcendental. The living entity immediately is liberated from the material world. So how can we say that Krishna is partial when even his punishment is liberation for the jiva? So therefore, Kunti Devi is saying that, oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. So Krishna is not partial. Krishna is equal to all. If we render service to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate that service. And if we want to become enemies of Krishna, Krishna will also reciprocate with us in enmity. So it is not Krishna's plan, but it is our plan. The partiality is not coming from Krishna. The partiality is coming from us. The way we treat the Lord, the way we relate to the Lord, that way the Lord will relate to us. He would reciprocate with us. So therefore, if a jiva relates to the Lord in love, Krishna relates to him in love. And if a jiva relates to the Lord in enmity, Krishna fulfills that desire of the living entity by reciprocating in enmity. So therefore, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is never partial. It is the jiva whose activities create the seemingly partial behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every living entity is Krishna's child, and Krishna is a well-wisher, sarva suhridam, sarva dehinam suhridam. Krishna is the well-wisher of every living entity, embodied living entity, all souls. Krishna is our suhridam, is our well-wisher. So it is how we relate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the Lord reciprocates with us, and seen through our disease sight, our material vision, then we think that the Lord is partial. But actually, Krishna is never partial. So I think it's 10 o'clock, I guess so. So any comments or questions, if there are any? Corrections, if there are any? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Your Holiness, for the wonderful narrations and class. We're very happy to have you in our presence. There is no answer up yet, but I have a question.
Okay.
I think the answer coming up now, but before I attend to that, let me quickly ask my own question. Krishna, the pure love of God is said to be unconditional. Love, pure love.
Yes.
When love is pure, it's not considered conditional. But when you're narrating the Krishna's relationship with the living entity, it started sounding as if sometimes maybe Krishna's love for his jiva he only reciprocates what
your line is freezing.
Is it that he cannot, irrespective of our desire?
I think your internet.
Did you hear my question?
Your internet is breaking. Your internet is breaking. You have to repeat the question. I didn't get it.
Okay, let me repeat the question. I said your narration while you are explaining, Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I said Krishna's love to the living entity, based on the narration and the explanation this morning, is sounding like Krishna's love to the living entity is conditional to the living entity's activities. But pure love, if Krishna's love for the living entity is unconditional, why can't Krishna, irrespective of our behavior, give us the best relationship? Because he kills the demons because they are demons. He blesses devotees because they are devotees. But so he's reciprocating based on our conditional situation. So why can't he relate with us, irrespective of our conditioning, and give us the best situation?
Krishna has given us the best situation. Thank you for your question. Krishna has given us the best situation based on our desire. See, Krishna's love is unconditional. Because his love is unconditional, that is why he follows us as a Paramatma. As a Paramatma, super soul, he follows us in any condition of life. Whether we are in a hawk's body, we are in an ant's body, we are in a fish body, human body, demigod body, Krishna is following us all through. And so long as the living entity is in the material world for billions and trillions of years, Krishna follows him as super soul. That is the indication of Krishna's unconditional love. And why is he following us? Just to remind us that we don't really belong here, and that our real activity is devotional service because of that unconditional love. So he's following us, reminding us, and it's left to us to pay heed to his constant counsel. He's giving us free counsel every moment of our lives. So that is the unconditional love of Krishna for the jiva. That the jiva is his part and parcel, and wherever the jiva is, Krishna is there with him, and his business is to somehow or the other turn your attention back to him, because that is our natural state. Our natural state is to be with Krishna. Our natural environment is a spiritual world. Our natural activity is devotional service. Our natural service is Krishna's, our natural activity is devotional service. So Krishna constantly followed us, just to remind us that we should turn to him and perform that service, because that is our natural activity. And so he has that love for us, and therefore he's following us in everybody, in every form, on every planet, in every life. Krishna is with us, just trying to turn our attention towards the spiritual world. That is his love for us. If somebody does not want, you see, wherever there is an element of love, there must be an element of choice. If there is no choice in a relationship, then the relationship is forced. But because the love is there, that's why Krishna has given the living entity some little freedom, some little freedom to choose. So this because of the element of love, love cannot be forced. Love has to be chosen. So therefore, Krishna, he gives us that free will so that we can choose to love him, and we can also choose not to love him. But if we choose not to love him, then of course, we cannot expect that Krishna will reciprocate with us as how he is reciprocating with those who love him. But that does not mean that the love for Krishna is conditional. It's not conditional. If it were conditional, then Krishna would not even follow us at all. But because his love for us is unconditional, he continuously follows us, continuously reminds us, and continuously wants us to use that free will to love him because of the element of love. Love cannot be forced. That is the principle.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Our next question is coming from Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Ganga Prasad, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Hare Krishna, Jai Ganga Prasad Prabhu.
Thank you very much for the session.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is a need for some clarification for better understanding.
Okay.
In the second sentence in the purport, there is this statement: the very conception of the personality of Godhead as human being is misleading.
Yes.
Juxtaposing it with Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, I am finding a little bit of conflict in this. Is it that God is acting a different nature that is not his original nature, that we are also acting like? So the word misleading there is what I don't know. I want a little bit of support.
Yeah, you see, the very conception of the personality of God as a human being is misleading. It means that we are seeing the Supreme Lord as we see ourselves. As his actions, we are viewing his actions through our human mind. And we are concerned about the Lord because the Lord has 2 hands, 2 legs, a head, 2 eyes. So it's ordinary like us. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said that is a great challenge for the living entity. Because when we see that God has 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a head, then immediately we start thinking, then he is just like us. And that is why some Vaishnavas, they think Narayan is superior to Krishna. Why? Because Narayan form has 4 arms. Human beings don't have 4 arms. So Krishna is a bit different. Narayan is different from the human being because he has 4 arms. And so they say Narayan is the supreme personality of Godhead and Krishna originates from Narayan. Why? Because Narayan has 4 arms. That is the argument. But actually that is not correct. The Swayam Bhagavan is Krishna. Krishna is the Adideva, he's the origin of all, as Brahma is saying. And therefore, our form resembles that of Krishna's form. It's not that Krishna's form resembles us. I always say that if a child says that the father resembles him, that is a naughty child, because the father was there before the child came. So therefore, it is the child that resembles the father. It's not the other way around. The father comes before the child, and therefore whatever the child has got, he got it from his father. So the misleading aspect of it is that because Krishna has 2 legs, he has 2 arms, he has 1 head, he has 2 eyes. So, and we also have the same, we think, oh, the Lord is like us. But he is in a transcendental position. His body is transcendental. His legs transcendental. His hands transcendental. His eyes transcendental. With the eyes, Krishna can eat. With his eyes, he can impregnate. With his eyes, he can destroy. So, and we cannot do that. With one of the senses of the Lord, he can perform all the other functions of all the other senses. For us, the hand is for a particular purpose. The leg is for a particular purpose. So that is the difference, that even though our bodies appear to be like that of the Supreme Lord, the Lord's form is transcendental, our own is material. And so that is the confusion. We think that the Lord's form looking like ours is material, so it's misleading because his form is completely spiritual. Purusha Prakriti Para is completely spiritual. And so if we have this understanding, then there is no question of misleading. But that understanding generally is not there in the conditioned soul. So he sees the Lord, that he has the same thing like himself. He's doing the same thing like himself. So he thinks the Lord is non-different from me. We are all the same. That is the misleading aspect of it. I don't know whether I've been able to throw some light.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appropriate. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So our next question is going to come from Sadev. Sadev, Prabhu, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Sri Sadev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to you. All glories to you. Thank you so much for the class.
Prabhupada. So I hope you are doing well.
By your grace, yes, I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, so what is your
Thank
question?
you.
Yeah.
Well, my question has to do with consciousness.
Consciousness, okay.
Yes. Is consciousness the very thing that separates or differentiates living beings and matter? Because as human beings, I think I've read or heard somewhere where Srila Prabhupada says consciousness is a symptom of the presence of the soul.
Yeah.
So does consciousness signify the presence of the soul, and as such makes that particular body a living body?
Yes. Prabhupada says the consciousness is the character of the soul. It is a symptom of the presence of the soul. As soon as there's no consciousness, the soul is withdrawn, because we cannot say we are alive without consciousness. So the symptom of the soul is that it is conscious. And that is also with the Supreme Lord himself. Abhigya Swara. Krishna is Abhigya. Krishna is full of knowledge. He knows everything. Why? Because he's conscious. And so, because Krishna is conscious, the living entities coming from Krishna are also conscious. Without consciousness, there is no life. So once the living entity is alive, it means that some consciousness is there, and it means that soul is there. As soon as soul is withdrawn, consciousness is also withdrawn, and the living entity is described as dead. So consciousness is an integral part of the soul. And we can't separate consciousness from the soul because it is an integral part of it.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Sadev, I think that answers your question. Sadev, okay, go ahead. Permitted.
Well, so based on the answer you gave,
Yeah.
Once the soul leaves a particular body, the consciousness is gone, so we consider the body dead.
Yes.
Well, we as living beings, as Srivas, are parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Consciousness.
Yes.
So the Supreme Consciousness permeates every atom. In other words, according to the scriptures, Krishna expands to Mahatattva, and then Mahatattva expands to the three Vishnus, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu enters into even the atom of everything. So if the Supreme Consciousness is present in anything and everything, how then do we consider a body that has been left by a tiny Jiva Atma as dead, simply because that Atma left? Okay. Because the Supreme Consciousness is also present there.
That is true. It is, Lord Brahma says that. And that in every living, in every atom, the super soul is there. And Lord Brahma is our founder Acharya of our Sampradaya. So we cannot doubt him. You cannot doubt him. So, but the point is that consciousness, which is pervasive, that consciousness, which is coming from the super soul, that consciousness is always there. Actually, without that consciousness, there cannot even be creation. Without that consciousness, nothing will take place in this material creation. Just like it is said that Mahavishnu has to glance at Mahatattva. And by that glance of Mahatattva, the time factor is activated. And the time factor activates the three modes of material nature. And the three modes of material nature begin to interact. And as a result, material creation comes about. So that consciousness, without that consciousness, nothing can go on in this world. And it's also mentioned that even when the universes, the golden forms, they're like golden eggs. They come out of Mahavishnu's paws and they float in the causal ocean. They were lifeless until Mahavishnu expanded himself as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu and enters into each and every universe. And then life is brought into those universes. And it was from this Garbhodakashaya Vishnu that Brahma is generated. And when Brahma is generated, then he also generates the bodies of other beings and the planetary systems where they will live. So the fact is that everything depends on the supreme consciousness. Without the supreme consciousness, nothing can exist. So, but that consciousness is sometimes withdrawn and sometimes present. Just as also the jiva, when the jiva's consciousness is in the body is alive. And when the consciousness is withdrawn, the body is considered dead. So just as the universal eggs that were produced from Mahavishnu's body remain lifeless, and they were floating on the causal ocean until the Paramatma of the universes enters to bring life. So it is said that the Mahavishnu is the Paramatma of Mahatattva. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the Paramatma of the universe, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is the Paramatma of the living entity. So we have three Paramatmas: Paramatma of Mahatattva, Paramatma of the universe, and Paramatma of the living entity. So the Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is resident in all living entities. And when the living entities leave the body, that Paramatma goes to the living entity. Now, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu is the Paramatma of the universe. So he is present in every atom of the universe. But he is simultaneously present and simultaneously absent. Then we have Mahavishnu is also the Paramatma of the Mahatattva. But he is simultaneously present and simultaneously absent. Otherwise, why is he casting glances at Mahatattva in order to activate the time factor, in order to activate the modes of nature, in order to start the procreation or the creation of the material world? So it means that the Paramatma form of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of the universe, is present in the universe, but it can also be withdrawn at any time. The same way, the Paramatma of the Mahatattva is Mahavishnu. He is present at any time and is also withdrawn at any time. and the Paramatma, the living entity, which is the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, is within the body of the living entity, and as soon as the living entity is gone from the body, that Paramatma is also withdrawn. So now the issue is we cannot tell exactly when the Paramatma, the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Paramatma is withdrawn from the matter. Say, for instance, the body is dead. When the body is dead, when the soul leaves the body, consciousness is gone, the Paramatma that follows the Jiva goes. So exactly when the universal Paramatma withdraws his consciousness, that I've not read it, but I may deduce that once the Paramatma of the Jiva is withdrawn, then also simultaneously the Paramatma of the universe is also withdrawn from that lump of body, because they are working together cooperatively. It's not, there's the same personality. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is the same personality that simply expands for different functions, but it's the same personality. So when the Paramatma of the individual soul withdraws from the body, then naturally the Paramatma of the universe also withdraws from that body, because the Paramatma of the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is withdrawn, so the other Paramatma, universal Paramatma, also becomes withdrawn. And so the body becomes lifeless. And when the Paramatma of the Jiva enters the body, then at the same time, the Paramatma of the universe also enters that body. So they work together. It's the same personality, the same expansion, and so they work together in supporting existence in the material world. I don't know whether you have got something out of what I'm trying to explain.
It's great, Sadi. I think he's busy. And meanwhile, until he comes back, Ganga Prashad Prabhu's hand is up. So let's hear from Ganga Prashad Prabhu. Please unmute and comment or ask your question.
Hare Krishna, I have a question,
Okay.
and it's related to this. I just needed a little bit of clarification for better understanding.
Okay.
In the sense that you rightly mentioned Karana Dakashayi Vishnu as the super soul of the total ingredient of material creation, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu as the super soul in every universe, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu in every atom. Now, where my confusion is that when the glance, when Mahavishnu glance over material nature, along with activating time and activating pradhan, he also injected the living entities. The living entities are also conscious. So my confusion is, what is the difference between the consciousness of the living entity and the consciousness in every atom, so that we can reconcile? Yes, the living entity leaves the body, does not make that the elements are dead, because it said the different elements, they go back to their bigger body. Air goes to air, water goes to water. So the super soul present is still there. It's not that they are dead, but the soul lives, and the soul has consciousness, and the soul consciousness is accompanied by the super soul to be able to observe the activities of the living entity in the body. So that is the point I need clarification on. Is it that is the presence of the super soul that makes the soul conscious in the body, or?
No, the individual has his individual consciousness. The super consciousness is only to advise, counsel, and witness. Upadrasta, upadrastum, he is the witness, the permitter of the activities of the jiva. So the consciousness of the living entity is his birthright, is with him from beginning. So it does not depend on the super soul. The super soul business is to observe, to permit, and to counsel. So that's what the super soul does. The consciousness is already there. Every jiva has his consciousness. But how he utilizes his consciousness is what the super soul observes and awards him in his next life what he deserves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness. There are no hands up now, so meaning that this is where we will draw the curtain. But before that, I will request all of the devotees to please kindly unmute. Let us together loudly chant powerful Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to appreciate Holiness for coming to give
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kalpatarubhyasya, Kripasindubhya vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.
Srivas Vanacari ki jai. Devotees, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming. We look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow again. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Bye for now.